Here with Dr. Nita Chhinzer, and in this episode, we're briefly going to dissect what a union is. A labor union, or a union, is an officially recognized body representing a group of jobs practicing a similar trade or employed in the same company or industry. Now, these jobs have essentially been banded together to present a collective voice when dealing with management. What's critical here is that this is a legally recognized body, meaning that unlike employee groups or associations that may not be legally recognized, the results of the negotiation between the union and management here are legally binding. Ideally, unions aim to influence HR policies and practices that affect bargaining unit members, so this includes things like the pay, the hours worked, and the benefits. They also hope to achieve greater control over jobs performed, greater job security, and improved working conditions. And they ultimately want to increase job satisfaction and meet the employees' affiliation needs. Fundamentally, the primary goal of labor unions active in Canada today is to obtain economic benefits and improve treatment for their members. Implicit to this is an assumption of power imbalance between the employee and the employer in favor of the employer. Therefore, unions act as a means to rebalance the power as a collective voice. In Canada, about 30% of jobs are unionized, with a greater percentage of jobs unionized in the public sector than the private sector. And many might mistakenly think that union-employer relationships are tense in Canada, but there's actually multiple different management-union relationships that exist. One is a union acceptance strategy. In this case, management views the union as a legitimate representative of the firm's employees, and these kinds of relationships can lead to innovation initiatives and win-win outcomes. These organizations often also appreciate the fact that they could negotiate with one union around the terms and conditions of employment rather than negotiating with each and every employee individually, which can be very time-consuming and lead to perceptions of unfairness. The second here is a union avoidance strategy, and this is when managers believe that it is preferable to operate in a non-unionized environment. To avoid unions, companies can either adopt a union substitution approach, in which they become so responsive to employee needs that there's no incentive for them to want to unionize, or they can adopt a union suppression approach, which is when there's a desire to avoid a union at all costs. For example, Walmart challenged the constitutionality of Saskatchewan's labor laws all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, but lost when it adopted what was perceived by many as the union suppression approach. Overall, in Canada, the relationship between management and unions appears to be focused on cooperation. A 2020 survey of managers in unionized environments indicated that 60% of them rated their overall union management climate as cooperative, and an additional 18% rated their climate as very cooperative. These values have been relatively consistent over the last 5 years.